welcome to Ladies Talking Leafs. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sil.
And hope everybody is doing well and at least semi or partially recovered after another disappointing end to the Leafs season. 18 years and counting. Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a tough show for us to have to do once again. And it's definitely not how we expected things to go after having such a great regular season. And seeing the attitude of the team, they just seem different this year. But unfortunately, it is the same results.
Yeah. So before we get into this show, we're going to start off with a couple of good news moments from last week. First, the pride of Scarborough, Michael Bunting, was nominated for the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. Bunting actually had the most points for rookies, had 23 goals, 40 assists for 63 points. He's going up against Detroit Red Wings defenseman Moritz Seider and Anaheim Ducks forward Trevor Zegras. And personally, I just think he's not going to get it, but at least he was nominated. I think the Red Wings defenseman is probably going to, Seider apparently is the lead for it,
Yeah.
but at least he got the nomination. So that's good because he did have a great season.
Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people knock him because he's older, but you know what? There's something to be said for being, slotted into a certain role and working your way out of that, coming into this organization and working from the get-go and getting yourself off of that fourth line slot, which is where they thought they were going to be using you, and working your way up to the top line and contributing like this. So congratulations definitely to Michael Bunting for that.
And it's not easy to play with star players.
100%.
And it's his first season, let's say the first full season as a player. So as a rookie player. So yeah, congratulations to Michael Bunting.
And of course, we also want to congratulate Austin Matthews, who was nominated for the Hart Trophy, which is given out to the player who is regarded as the most valuable to his team. Of course, he's up against Oilers' Connor McDavid and Rangers goalie Igor Shesterkin. He was also nominated for the Ted Lindsay Award, which is awarded to the NHL's most outstanding player. And this award is voted on by the players, and the other finalists for the award are Connor McDavid and Nashville Predators defenseman Roman Josi. So I'll be really interested to see if he gets the nod for the Ted Lindsay. But he's obviously in good company, and he is so deserving of these two nominations.
Yeah. Apparently he's in the lead for the Hart. The Ted Lindsay, apparently for the player himself, is more, I guess, recognition because it's from his peers, from the players.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, whichever one he wins, if he wins both, great. If he just wins the Hart, great too. He's definitely deserving of it. So yeah, congratulations to Austin Matthews. Okay, so just a reminder, after listening to our show, we would appreciate it if you could leave us a review. Both Apple and Spotify have a listener option to leave a rating or a review, and it's very easy to do. Or if you prefer, you can always leave us a comment on social media. Our handle is at LTL1917 on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Or send us an email at ladiestalkinleafs@gmail.com.
And you can also check out our website, which we launched earlier this season, ladiestalkinleafs.com. You can find out more about us and the show there. So now it's time to get into the show proper. And we are going to start with our segment, Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. And then we're going to have an extended third period segment because we need to vent about a few items from this playoff series loss. And we're going to highlight a few comments that we got from our social media followers. So without any further ado, let's talk Leafs.
Thumbs up, down, thumbs down. Ooh, I got that one out right. We're going to stick with the keys to our theme, I guess, that we've been using during these playoffs, the keys to the series that we picked out. And so my first key, special teams. How did we do on special teams? Well, in my opinion, not too good. I'm giving it a thumbs down. The power play, I don't know what they need to figure it out because for whatever reason, it's great during the regular season. And then it just plummets in the playoffs. And this is not just this year, but in at least the last 2 years anyways, from what I remember. So they're 4 for 28 in this series, which is 14%, which is not good. And it was first in the regular season. So, I mean, I don't know what goes on in the playoffs. They're 0 for 18 opportunities in series clinching games, according to Sportsnet stats. And yeah, it just is not working. On the flip side, the PK was actually not so bad. It was 78.8%. But the interesting thing is, if you actually look it up for the penalties, that the team that has the most penalty calls in the playoffs, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, we have, and we still have the most penalty minutes. 134 minutes are called against us. Mm-hmm. And during the regular season, we were 18th in the league. I just don't, like, that to me is the refereeing part of it. Tampa was second, of course, because they're in our, we played them, and the way the series was called was definitely every little thing to a certain point, which is another issue. But yeah, and then Calgary and Dallas followed that. And Calgary and Dallas are both, they're different style of teams, definitely, than us and Tampa. So I don't know. I just don't get how we got called, how our series got called. So tight like that. That just doesn't make sense. So
it's, you wonder what the league was scouting there.
Yeah.
Like saying, oh, we have to clamp down on this. On what? I don't really understand that at all. Like, that is kind of ridiculous. And, you know, I think it was hard for both teams to adjust to those types of calls.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I don't know.
It was my main concern is the power play. I mean, they were just overpassing too much. Their zone entries were just horrible. Like, they just kept doing the drop pass thing. There was no creativity. I don't know. To me,
it seems like whatever happens is that, you know, the way, because obviously both of these coaching staffs are scouting each other, right? So the way that Tampa defended us made things difficult. It's not rocket science that you know that they're going to try to find a way to stop you. So it just seems to me that regardless of the coach that's behind the bench, we haven't been able to find a way to counter that and adjust to the way they defend us on that. And we seem to then fall back to the old pattern of dropping back and, you know, slowly making those zone entries. Like, why are you not like flying in? Our team has speed, and they just didn't use it in the power play situation. Like, they gave Tampa so much time to set up that it's ridiculous. Why are you doing that? They didn't move their feet. They didn't gain the zone quickly enough, and therefore they weren't able to set up. Yeah, is what I saw.
So you're giving it a thumbs down too, then?
Oh yes, sorry. Self-explanatory. Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. All right, moving on. Go to your first.
Okay, so mine was fighting through adversity. I'm actually going to give these guys a thumbs up for that, because in series past, obviously, we have not seen them with much fight at all. And they did show a lot of fight. You know, but I think that the problem in this case was we created too much adversity for ourselves. So we didn't give our team did not give themselves a chance to succeed, because we basically played the game behind the 8 ball far too many times. We only started the games 1 and 3 with a lead, and all the other games we were having to come back from being down. So I think it's really going to be difficult to win any series when you are having to fight through that and come back all the time. But you know, so because I don't want to sound too negative, I'm actually going to give them a thumbs up for the fight that they showed.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be too positive on this. This is another thumbs down for me. I do have a thumbs up, so it is coming. This is thumbs down. For me, this is about the killer instinct. And it's kind of related to how you said, like they didn't score the first goal except for in those two games where they were always coming from behind. But basically, in my case, they had opportunities to take control of the series and they didn't do it. So game 2 at home, they lost. It's almost like, it's not that they didn't show up, but they blew it there. So they didn't take the first 2 at home. Tampa got the split. Game 4 was the game that was really horrific, that they didn't show up at all, which I was actually surprised at after having such a big game 3 win. And then in game 6, we were kind of screwed over by the refs, but again, we were screwed over by the refs, but again, we could have clinched it. We didn't. And then game 7, we all know what happened. So to me, that adversity is linked with dealing with that killer instinct to just get the job done. Like all these other teams now, like the Rangers, they're at home game 7. That's the other thing too. We had home ice on top of it all with this.
True. That's true.
With this series, which is the first time with fans. I'm not counting last year with no fans, but having the fan support behind them, and they still didn't get it done. And I'm like, I don't know what else.
You know, one of the things though that I think about this is that the killer instinct often doesn't come from your best players. It comes from your depth, your role players.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Tampa showed. Like if you're looking at their top players versus our top players, like did any of their top players show that much killer instinct? I don't really think so, except for maybe their goaltender, but he was very well insulated also. Yeah. No, it was a guy like Nick Paul, and every season that they have won, it's been one of their depth pickups at the trade deadline. So, I mean, obviously we're going to be getting into these types of things a little bit more detail, but our depth people are the ones that, to me, didn't show up and didn't provide that killer instinct. So,
and you led right into the next one, which is great. It's the best players need to be the best players, and the supporting cast will be there to help out. So, to me, this is 2 parts now because the series is over. So the best players have to be our best players, and that I'm giving a thumbs up.
And I agree with that too.
They were the best players. I mean, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, JT eventually got going for the last 2 games, and then William Nylander. They were on the points. They were the top 4 point getters. So Matthews had 9 points, Marner had 8, Nylander 7, JT and Morgan Riley had 6 points each. So they were good. But the supporting cast now, on the other hand, as you were just mentioning, the secondary scoring, it basically showed up only in game 3. So it was interesting. I found some, and this is where Kyle Dubas, I mean, we're not going to talk about we're going to talk in the next show about what's going to happen in the summer, but this is where definitely improvements need to be made for the secondary scoring, because Alexander Kerfoot has 1 5-on-5 goal in 37 career playoff games. Ilya Mikheyev.
And as much as he has in the last 2 years gotten a lot of pub for being one of our best players.
Yeah. But he
I would say
produce.
That's not the case. 100%. And I would say that he started out the series well, but did not finish well. So anyways, go on.
Ilya Mikheyev hasn't beat a goalie in 19 career playoff games. He has 2 empty netters that he got this series. We don't count those. No. Pierre Engvall, 0 goals in 17 career playoff games.
Not good enough.
Oh, definitely not. Andre Kasha, and okay, this is his first season here, and he's had a lot of injuries, but whatever. He, in his career, 31 career playoff games, 2 goals. So he hasn't proven anything in the past either with his past teams. And David Camp wasn't really brought in to score, as we'd mentioned on our last show, but he contributed, actually, and this was his first playoff appearance. So he has 7 career playoff games and he has 2 goals. So at least he's not expected to, but he did. But that part of it, that bottom end, and I didn't count the fourth line because this is really the third line. I mean, the fourth line it chips in here and there, but the third line,
yeah, and they're more supposed to create energy, and I think that fourth line contributed. Whether or not they were used the way they should have been used, that remains to be seen. But anyway,
that third line, it needs, like, that's where Nick Paul, like you said, and like and I don't know, Alex Killorn, I think, is on their second line, but Ross Colton, is he on their third line? I think he was. But anyways, that third line of Tampa, basically, they came up big, more than once, let's say, right? Because even that Brendan Hagel guy, you can't just show up for one game and then the rest of the series just think, oh, well, your big guys are going to do it, sort of thing, right? And the other thing too is when it comes to supporting cast, I include the defense here.
100%.
Yeah, we just don't. That's another area for the off season. We just don't have anybody. Unfortunately, Sandin couldn't play in this series, but we don't have anyone on the back end that can shoot the puck.
Nope.
Or is willing to shoot the puck. And when they do shoot the puck, it's going wide.
Well, the only person that we have is who they picked up with who is Giordano, but you can't expect a guy who's 39 to be, trying to match, Victor Hedman.
No. Exactly. Yeah. So, that's definitely an area of concern there, is that supporting cast. So I gave that a thumbs down.
Right.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with your assessment there. All right. So now our last one is taking their game to the next level. As much as they raise their level throughout this series, I have to agree with that. Obviously, this is a thumbs down because the next level really was getting over this first round exit, and they obviously didn't do that. We just discussed there was obviously good, performances by certain players, but as a team, the team performance obviously. They didn't get the job done. So, and in this, I really, really think that the area that didn't raise their game the most is the coaching ranks. I talked about on our last show how you've got to let your horses run, and they didn't. The coaching staff didn't perform with any urgency. Especially towards the second half of that final game.
Yeah.
You got to put your best guys out there to make or break it. And, they're still rolling lines for the most part. They decide to put Spezza on for like the last 4 minutes. That's not the way you're going to win. They basically kept dumping the puck in, which is also not their game. They just didn't adapt, and they just didn't put their best guys out there and set them up for success, I don't think. So,
yeah. Well, that's the other thing. When it comes to Jason Spezza, God love him. I hope he does come back next season. If he doesn't, if he decides, I mean, I haven't heard any inkling about him retiring, but if he does, they should, as you've mentioned several times this season, they should bring him back as a coach or something.
There's a way to use him properly.
Yeah. But him and Gabe, I knew actually too that there was a problem in Game 5 when they came out in that first period of Game 5, and they were down, I believe, 2-0. Yes, at home, and I was like, and then I found out later about and everybody did, about the speech that Jason Spezza had to give, or gave, not had to, but he decided it was the right time. And I thought to myself, if it takes a guy that's had however many games over 1,000 games in the National Hockey League, like, for him at that point, for this team to need him to stand up in that room and say something to get them going, I thought there's an issue here. There's an issue in that room to have that. I don't know. I just thought of that. It was great that they came back all rambunctious and won, but that should not have to be the case in a Game 5.
Well, that may be true, but home. I do think though that players do need to do that as a team to rally around something.
Let's just say they can rally. I don't know. I just didn't think. I just think they were at home. It was a home game. How do you not get up for that? I don't know.
Well, I don't think that they weren't up for it.
They're losing 2-0. I don't know. I didn't see any at the start of
that. But that again, like I don't know if that's necessarily the makeup. I think that could be the coaching. That could be the decisions that they make to who is out in certain instances.
Yeah.
I think
agree
that the game that they started Hall and Giordano together. I can't remember if that was the one.
No, I think that was in Tampa. I think.
Okay. All right. Well, whichever one. Like those types of decisions. Do you know what I mean? Like, and
no, I agree. I agree with you on the coaching. I gave a thumbs down to taking the game to the next level. That's thumbs down. I actually gave them a thumbs up, though, the players, because they did give their all. Like they gave all they had, right?
Well, I did say that too.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. They did give it. So that I looked at it a little bit differently that way. They gave it their all. I don't know. It's, it's something else that I'll talk about in our next show.
And that's the thing is that I think in this category, we could go off on a million tangents, and this is not a cut and dry one for sure, because definitely there are decisions that go into, whether or not a player can even get to the next level, because they're like, look at, for example, like this is going back to the Babcock era, how much he held Austin back at that time. Yeah. And if Babcock was still here, would he be the player that he is? I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but it might have taken him longer to get to where he is. You know what I mean? So, so there's decisions that, play into this, but, I can't give them a full thumbs up on that if they can't make it past this round, because it was there for the taking. However, are there things to be learned from this? Definitely. So,
yes.
Yeah. So obviously we and all of Leafs Nation are upset about the way things ended in Game 7. So from here, we're going to transition right into our third period segment, and we're going to talk about all of that.
Yeah, we're going to vent, basically. We're going to vent in the third period. Not that we haven't been already venting, but we're going to vent some more. So where did it go wrong for the Leafs in this series? So for me, there were the 2 points. Not showing up in Game 4 when they had the great game in Game 3. I know a lot of people say there's no, momentum, I guess. But that was just for Game 3 to have such a strong showing by the support players. And just to blow that game away and lose like that, 7-3. And the last 2 goals were like with less than 5 minutes. And then the other thing I actually think was Michael Bunting. I'm not blaming it on him, obviously, but just a second point I've thought of as I was writing some notes. He didn't look himself. He's injured, I think. Like you noticed him out there a lot in the regular season, and like he was a difference maker on that line and just getting under people's skin, whatever. We know who Michael Bunting is. I just think that he could have, if he was healthy 100%, he would have made more of a difference, and he would have gotten on the scoreboard more too, I think, on that. But I guess the main point, I think, one of the main points anyways, was that that Game 4 and also that game number 2 at home. But the Game 4 one really stood out in Tampa because it was just like, they didn't show up. And I don't know why, but yeah. And that's it. Yeah. That's it for me as to
to me is the fact that they in the 2 games that they scored first, they were able to build their momentum off of that and dominate those 2 games. And the fact that they got down, so this kind of is similar to yours, the fact that they got down in all those other games, they actually gave themselves extra mountains to climb. It's like, they were going on a hike and they kept taking these wrong turns. Yeah. So why take the more challenging route? Yeah. They just made it more difficult for themselves. And then the other part is not making enough adjustments. when the tides of the game were turning, or it seemed that Tampa was digging in. They didn't. Even though like you're on the road or whatever, like there was a couple times that Keefe, did put Matthews on like the fourth line or something like that, or double shifted different people. Like, Matthews, first of all, he's not the only guy that you can do that with. They didn't try to get different matchups for Mitch either.
Right.
Mitch is a talented enough guy that I think he could adjust. I don't know. Maybe they don't think that the other players could play with him. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
He could have.
But they could be getting different looks.
Yeah. For example, with
get
JT.
them out of things.
Like JT.
Or moving Blackwell up. Blackwell had so much energy.
Yeah.
When the other third line, for example, is not clicking, why are you not moving a guy down?
Yeah.
Or even Kasha, okay? I know that you think highly of him and he's a pick of yours, but he hasn't played. He's coming off a concussion.
Yeah.
Why is he even in the lineup? You could even question that.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. But the other thing I was going to say with Marner, going back to him, like when JT wasn't going well, let's just say in the first 4 or 5 games of the series, 4 games, like why not just double shift Mitch sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
With him, like what would be the issue with
the
that?
guy has more energy than anybody in the league.
I mean, I know.
You really think he's going to get too tired?
I know he's playing the PK too, right? So he plays, let's say, extra that way.
Yeah.
But as a coach, I don't know, we're not the coaching of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but there should be a way for them to figure it out, right? Maybe he doesn't have to go on the power play every single shift, or on the penalty kill every single shift. Like, I don't know, there's Kerfoot, there's Mikheyev, there's Engvall, there's David Kampf, and there's Kerfoot can take the draw too. Like those 4 players, they can get it done once. Let's just say, right? And slot Mitch on instead offensively with JT to try and get him going. But I don't know.
And the same could be said too for the defense, like
yes, yeah.
They really, really were tied to
Justin Hall,
certain people, but you could double shift other players or play them more.
Yeah.
In key situations.
For sure. Yeah, like
because there was definitely a pair that was not strong enough. And then that's the other question. Why are you so tied to Justin Hall?
Yeah.
As well as he played, I think he played really well in the one game.
Yeah. The other thing is too, I think like over time, Lyubushkin wasn't good.
His game deteriorated.
Yeah. And so
why you could be double shifting somebody like Muzzin or Brody.
Or put Liljegren in one game then, right?
Exactly.
They should have switched him out one game for the last few games since you're so tied to Justin Hall, right? Like you could have done that, right? But I don't know. They didn't, the defense, I agree. They didn't, the coaching didn't use them very well. So, so there's obviously quite a bit in all that when it comes to what went wrong. And I'm sure there's a lot more, but those are the things that we picked out. We're going to go on to some social media comments. Thank you for sending in your comments to Facebook and Twitter. We got these comments from our followers. The first one I'm going to give, it's from a handle at Fairshbang96. So she's been a fan since 2019, she says, and honestly, this is the first time that she saw this team cared. It was a great season and series that, in her opinion, was robbed from us. The officiating was questionable, to say the least. I want to see this team come back next season. And surprisingly, a lot of people are saying to have this team come back next season. I don't know, when you say team, I'm assuming maybe like anyways, we'll get into next season in our next show, but the officiating definitely, yes, was questionable. That 2-man advantage in that game 6, that was with the phantom call on Kerfoot. Or was it Kerfoot, or was it, who got the first penalty? I'm forgetting.
No, that was on
Kerfoot.
Kampf,
right. Yeah, that was the phantom call where it hit the guy in the shoulder and the D guy put his head back. But that definitely
foot.
Yeah, that definitely screwed us over there. And but yeah, I think that all the teams care, like really, like it's not, I don't think it was just this year. Last year, we won't get into it. It was a disaster last year with the pandemic. I blame everything on the pandemic.
There's a lot of blame to go around there.
Yeah. And the officiating is questionable to say the least on that one.
Well, like we said from the top, when the Leafs and the Lightning have the most penalties in the first round, there's something wrong there.
Yes.
They basically came out with an eye on this. And it's like, to me, what's the NHL trying to do? Are they showcasing their players? And I'm not saying they should throw the whistle away. That is actually not what I'm saying at all. But are they showcasing their players, or are they showcasing their refs? Or do they want the fans to know the refs' names? Yeah. Are we supposed to be cheering for them, or are we supposed to be cheering for the players? To me, they're there to manage the game. They should be invisible. We should not know who their names are. Yeah. There's a reason why they took the names off the back of their refs' jerseys.
Yeah. No, and they, like, I guess for the listeners out there too, if you actually right now before the second round starts, if you actually put in Google penalties for the 2022 playoffs, you'll see the Leafs are first in the amount of penalties in minutes. 134 minutes we have as compared to, and then Tampa obviously was second, I believe at 111 minutes. And then there was Calgary and Dallas. But then you look at in the regular season, the Leafs were 18th in the league.
Yeah. How do you go from, the bottom
all the way to top?
Yeah. The bottom third of the league all the way to the top.
Yeah. And I understand that the first game, there was the feistiness involved. That's fine. Like there was the calls there on Clifford and Simmons and that, but still the rest of it doesn't make any, there was all the little ticky-tack kind of calls that really weren't even called in the regular season.
Yeah. And that's without us taking dumb penalties like we did last year with all of the over the glass. Yeah. And we led the league this year with the too many men calls. Exactly. And we didn't even get one of those.
All right. So we vented about the refs. So let's move on to the next.
All right. So our next comment came from Facebook. Joanne Sheard. The Leafs played a great game, is what she says. The only thing, less passing the puck, and they need to shoot from the point more. And the refs need to open their eyes and call the penalties not to just one side. So, okay, we covered the ref thing on this, but definitely agreed. This is basically goes back to what you were saying about the power play.
Yeah.
It's too much passing, and they need to shoot.
Yeah, they
need to shoot, period. Because to me, what did I see Tampa doing all the time?
Yeah.
Shooting from everywhere. It didn't matter. They gained the zone. They shot.
Yeah.
They tried to get the puck on net for a garbage rebound. And most of the time, we defended that pretty well for the most part. It was an onslaught some of the time.
Yeah, believe me, to the listeners, first of all, that's what Sil was saying as we were sitting in Scotiabank Arena. Why aren't you doing look at what they're doing. Look at what Tampa's doing, shooting it from everywhere, basically. And yeah. And I don't know. It's like we're always looking for the pretty play.
Well, or you think that during the playoffs that Tampa's going to give you an open lane?
No way.
They are not.
No.
That is basically that is what they specialize in now. And so if you scouted that team properly, you should have noticed that as well as after the
Kucherov and Stamkos were not great in this series.
No.
It was all about Victor Hedman and their defense. And McDonough getting away with murder on some things.
That leads to the ref part of the comment too.
Yeah, but we've gone through that. But definitely we agree, less passing of the puck around and shooting from the point. I mean, we don't have that shot, unfortunately, from the point. I mean, it would be Muzzin actually scored.
Interestingly, though, Sandin, who didn't get a chance to come into this, he does have a shot that can get through.
Yeah.
It's not a hard shot, but we don't necessarily need a bomb.
No.
I mean, it'd be nice to have sometimes, hopefully, but something that can get through.
Yeah.
So that, we can tip one in or something,
Yeah. And hopefully
that's what we need.
Hopefully I think it's his knee, again, that same knee that he messed up earlier in the year there, but hopefully, I mean, he was good to go, but like we said before that, you're not going to stick the kid in there in the middle of a series this, right? At this point when you're coming back from injury. So hopefully next season he'll be good to go and he'll be a part of next season's playoff run. So, yeah.
Although interestingly, they did think that it was fine to put Kasha and Bunting in, though. They don't have that much more playoff experience either.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not Bunting. Kasha has a little bit more, but I mean, they're forwards too, right? Like on this side, I still think they would have.
That is true.
They should have put Liljegren played well in those first two games. I don't know why.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with his game.
No.
Like he did not make any egregious errors.
No, I don't know why they didn't insert him for Lyubushkin at least, since Sheldon Keefe seems to love Justin Hall for whatever reason so much. But what's our next one? Our last one here.
So this one comes from Twitter again. So at AM34 feed. Should the NHL put less emphasis on divisions? You already get the benefit of playing within your division a lot more, but then have divisional playoff matchups on top of that. Is that really necessary?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
No, I definitely prefer the format based on the conference, which it started back in 93, 94. I looked it up to try and get my memory back. It actually wasn't going during the 92, 93 run, but it was the following year that it started, where the top 8 teams make the playoffs. And so it's a mix of the both divisions. In this case, like the Atlantic and the Metropolitan, I guess, on our side. And in that case, I went through this year's, standings with the points, and we actually would have played the Boston Bruins instead, if that happened. So not to say that the outcome would have been different, but I mean, actually, I think it would have been even more interesting. Like the whole idea, I guess, that the NHL claims on having this division format is to create more rivalries. Well, I don't know. To me, back in the day, even in the 80s, we had rivalries even without this stupid division system.
100%.
We had St. Louis and Chicago were our main rivals back then. Then going into the 90s, we had those two, plus we had the Red Wings on top of it all, who were in our division. But yeah, I don't like the divisional playoff format at all. And the main thing is, I just think it gets boring after a while. Like it's not, and it's, I like the mixing of having the whole conference, like the ability to have a mix of, like, we could play the Rangers at one point. We could play, at least more often. To me, I like the different, I don't like playing the same team constantly.
No, I agree with you. And the thing is if they want to create more rivalries, they can do that by, addressing the schedule in a better way. Changing the amount of times we play certain people, changing when we play them.
Yeah.
Like how do you even create a rivalry in, like, for example, us versus Florida, when we played them hardly at all, and all of the games that we played were at one time of the year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't get a feel for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the team is not the same in October as it is in March and April, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. So that to me is a farce. And the other part of it is I don't know how it makes sense for the NHL at all, to even do it this way, because why would you want to basically create a conference final game in your first round with your top 2 teams always, and the 2 of your top teams, and then you basically are taking out all the competition. I know that they want to believe in all this parity crap, that anyone can win, but they're creating that. They're making it so that anyone can win.
Yeah, they're losing revenue, basically. Like even you mentioned before about the TV revenue. The amount of TV revenue that they're losing now, the Leafs are out. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm watching only to get I'll promote it here on Sportsnet that this is a big code from so I could win some money. So right,
yeah, you better get something out of this.
Yes, exactly, right. But I'm not watching entire games or have any interest in them. No.
Smart on them for having the contest then, because then they at least are, kind of
getting
sucking us in that way.
Counting the viewership that way. But yeah, no, it's not like they're losing revenue that way. And the amount of like, if I don't know, like for an original 6 team, whether it be the Leafs, Montreal, whoever, the Rangers are still in it now. The Bruins are out too, but the amount of money just sold as they go later in rounds, those teams, Chicago, like there's other things like the sales of the shirts and the jerseys and all the paraphernalia to say that, oh, we were the division winners or the conference winners, whatever.
Well, considering, like, think about it, that the reversible jersey that the Leafs had, that was the top selling jersey in the NHL.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For just a random, rollout during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not want to make money?
No, exactly. Yeah.
I just don't understand it. Anyways, but you know what? We're going to go into a lot more of that down the road.
Yeah.
So
thanks to all of our social media followers for those. We did get more, but we obviously can't. Unfortunately, we can't get to all of them. But thank you to everyone that left a comment. Last week we said it was going to be a big week for Brendan Shanahan, Kyle Dubas, and company, and it's going to be it's definitely going to be big now, and it's going to be another interesting summer for the Leafs.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, there's been a lot of discussion in the past couple of days on why this team can't get over the hump and win in the playoffs. Interestingly, this morning on the Fan 590 Sportsnet's radio, Chris Versteeg gave some of his thoughts and included Leafs fans as part of the problem of why the Leafs couldn't win. I, for one, was so offended by that comment. He basically said, to paraphrase, that, the Leaf fans that were in the building on Game 7 didn't show up. Of course, we were among those. He said he can't believe that, they were hanging in the back and weren't out for the third period, and that nobody was standing during the third period to cheer this team on. Okay, being in the building and where we sit, which is where the real fans sit.
Yeah. Upper bowl.
Top of the building.
Upper bowl.
We can say that, yes, we were very loud, and yes, we were standing the whole time. Almost the whole time.
In fact, there was a guy behind us that was yelling. He was actually becoming annoying to me, but I mean, he's a fan, so I didn't say anything because you need people with that energy. He was yelling for the entire game.
100%. Yeah. And we've said it before, this is the loudest and the most boisterous and the most uplifting crowd I have been a part of at Scotiabank Arena, formerly the ACC.
Yeah. Yeah. And
bar none.
Yeah. The problem is that the diehard fans like us and everybody else are in the upper bowl. Mm-hmm. And the people that have to pay $10,000, the companies that just give away their tickets or whatever, they want to hang out and schmooze down underneath into the whatever stuff they get, their benefits, they're in the bottom. So obviously that's where they're going to show. The TV cameras are all down there by the ice, obviously. So yes, I mean, sorry, we can't do anything about that. But to me, I'm just saying to myself, don't lump in that group with us.
Well, but the other thing is he brought up as an analogy, Madison Square Garden and how all the rich people that sit down there, they're all there at the beginning of the game. I would just like to say this. Madison Square Garden is like the oldest building in the NHL now, is it not? I mean, they've revamped it several times, but it's not like the fan base has completely turned over there. The people who have been sitting in those seats have been sitting in those seats for decades and decades and decades, handed down to families, all of that. So it's the same rich people that built that building. That's not the case at the Scotiabank Arena.
Yeah, and you don't know.
Which was a new building built. Yeah. So if you go to any new building built, including, for example, Detroit, which is a new building, it's awfully quiet at the beginning of periods also, because to get a building built now for any NHL team, that requires corporate dollars. And the corporate dollars does not necessarily mean you're getting corporate dollars from fans.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't know too. I mean, they have renovated, like you said, MSG, but you don't know like obviously our restaurants are underneath. Like the services are probably different at MSG as opposed to what we have at Scotiabank Arena. All this little sushi bars and everything are underneath. They probably in MSG they probably have sushi right in front of them that they can get like a buffet.
Yeah, so honestly, that's true. Like if that is a huge design flaw, they probably thought that they were making the best use of space and this was a good idea. But looking back now, a few decades, we obviously know that was probably not the best choice.
Anyways, I just say to Christopher Steig, don't lump in the whole entire building because there are our fans are the best fans. Leafs Nation that's what this team is about, and the players know that. They've said, like Morgan Riley right off, like in his comments afterwards, like he obviously said he was very appreciative of the fans, including us there. That in the upper bowl, we all were there at the end of the game. We waited, and they did the handshakes and everything like that. So
yeah,
actually, speaking of handshakes, not to say I didn't like Sheldon Keefe's comment at the end there. So
no, who cares about the respect that you get? That's something that keep in the room. Yeah. I don't think you need to say it to the press.
That's another coaching problem there. That's not, I know he, right after that, he kind of said a comment to kind of
say, but we're not in the respect business. We're in the winning business.
Yeah, but still everybody's picking on that first part, not the second. So, so anyhow, I don't know.
All right. So where do the Leafs go from here? We'll have to see what management says in their final press conference for the season. We'll give our thoughts on this in our next episode, along with a grading of the team's performance for the past 21-22 regular season as well.
Yeah. So also regarding our podcast schedule, we're going to be reverting back to our normal regular season schedule. So we'll be back on the first Wednesday of the month, which will be June the 1st in this case. And then 2 weeks later, also on a Wednesday. To make it easier for yourself, just follow us on your favorite app and you'll never miss an episode. One final reminder to be sure to leave us a rating or review and let us know what you think of the show. It's very easy on Apple and Spotify, and it's important for our show to get more exposure as a source for Leafs content. We thank you for taking the time. And you notice we've been saying this the last few shows, so we really hope you take the time for us to give us a review.
Mm-hmm. And another way for you to communicate with us is obviously by following us on social media. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and our handle is at LTL1917. You can also help us out and visit our Ko-fi page at kofi.com/LTL1917. You can follow us there, and if you choose to, you can support us by buying us a coffee. Any donation goes towards helping us produce the show and making it even better for you. You can find the link to our Ko-fi page on our show notes or in any of our social media profile pages.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out our website, ladiestalkingleafs.com, as we'll be updating it with new content throughout the off season into the summer. And as always, we want to thank our healthcare workers that continue to work and keep us going. The pandemic's not over, unfortunately. It's still there, but it's a much better situation. But we thank them and the first responders for everything that they do.
So we thank you so much for listening. And of course, we'll be talking Leafs again in a couple of weeks. As always, go Leafs, go.